Welcome to the latest edition of the British Boxing Blog podcast. It's been a long time coming. We've had a few technical issues, but we are back just in time for the boxing season ending, so that's worked out well. We've got myself, Andrew, with...
myself, Stephen here, dialing in from Gateshead again. Good to be back. We could call it a summer review or something.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's sort of I think it's a little bit of a transition-y one, isn't it? We've got a few shows coming up that we'll have a look at. A few bits and bobs to talk about. See, the problem is with boxing, unless you're on it and you've got like a weekly podcast, which we have had for a bit, but unless you are regular with the content, whatever you're sort of talking about, soon out of date. But we will have a look back a few weeks ago at some of the action from various shows. As I say, we'll preview a few of the ones coming up in the northeast, but also dotted around the UK.
We've been to a couple as well, haven't we? I think you were at the stadium like I was at Raton Meadows, which I'm sure we can touch on as well. And there's always a lot local to get your teeth into as well. So there's plenty to discuss.
And then we've got some questions as well.
Right, much appreciated for still giving us the time of the day, even though it's probably your first podcast in about 6 weeks. But no, thanks for that. It's good to be back.
Where would you like to start?
I suppose we could stay in the now and look ahead to this weekend's action on BT Sport. Carlfountain's big homecoming fight, I guess, in Belfast, Windsor Park.
Yeah, it seems the latest in this sort of trend. I think
You're right, actually.
Boxing's had stadium fights for a long time, but I think Frochgrove's 2 was the one that sparked a little sort of revival in it, and since that point I think it's opened a lot of boxers' eyes, especially those at the top level, to suddenly thinking, well, okay, I've achieved what I've wanted in terms of belts. What else can I do? And it used to be, I think, when Ricky Hatton was around and Amir Khan and that was going over to Vegas and fighting in America was that sort of headline. Obviously, Frampton's done that, and he's spoken for a long time about wanting to have this stadium fight, this almost mythical for some fighters. It's it's like have a sort of smidge of success, and then it's I want a home fight in a football stadium. I want to pack it out.
I think that's what it is. I think you touched on it well there. I think you've got stadium fights, but if you go into the genre of stadium fights, the category, you've got different categories of stadium fights now. You've got your Wembley, your Frochgroves too. I guess that started, and now it's AJ's home for the foreseeable. I guess you've got your mega stadium fights, but then if you dig a little deeper, you've got your Josh Warringtons and you've got your Tony Bellews, and you're not even necessarily sold out stadiums. Like they're still the best, over 20,000 in easily, and maybe more. But I mean, just fighting at a stadium, not even solely to sell it out, just to get that more people than you could into an arena. At your hometown sort of stadium. I know you were there for Bellew at Goodison Park. I remember watching Josh Warrington and Selby, from Ellen Road, and there was a walk-up crowd that night, and it's not always about, I guess, selling out, which I'm sure Fountain is almost sold out. But I mean, just like you say, is that just sort of taking off the box of a stadium fight, which seems to be more common now. Kel Brook from Malayan is another recent example. There seems to be several a year now. It seems to be the in thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this is the ones you've mentioned there have all got one thing in common, and it's the tribalism related to football. You've got obviously Warrington, big Leeds fan, closely associated with the club. Bellew, the same with Everton. Brook come out with his Sheffield United logo on Bramall Lane, and it is that thing of coming from that working class background, and a lot of these boxers obviously have followed football, and they've grown up and they've gone to these stadiums and wanted to sort of translate it and bring it across into their world, into boxing, and it's that sort of almost a celebration fight, really.
I think it comes from the promoters as well. Here we are, 3 minutes in. I'm about to mention Lewis Whitson, but it's
ding 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 ding.
Straight away when it's
anyone who had the 3 minute mark for the bingo.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Just adding that.
I'm just seeing who had 3 minutes in the Lewis Whitson sweepstake.
Sponsored by Lewis Whitson.
If anyone is interested in sponsoring, yeah, get in touch.
No, of course, I'm still open for sponsorship. But no, just it just before his last arena fight. He was getting interviewed in St James's Park, and I'm sure he admits himself if he's away off that stage yet. But again, it's mentioned, and you see people on Twitter, I'd love to see Richardson at St James's Park. You know, he's now synonymous with the football club. I think he's a season ticket holder for 7 years up here. Obviously, now he's put it on the back burner because he's boxing career. Newcastle shorts, playing races, and it's no gimmick, you know what I mean? It's genuine love, and again, that's already mentioned now. Get Richardson at St James's, and you think the more he keeps winning, and the more it's in the back of people's minds, then, you know, I'm not saying he doesn't have to sell St James's out. It's not going to be 52,000. That's silly. But I mean, you can have fights in football stadiums without the mega numbers of Wembley. I think that's the point I was trying to make. I'm just thinking you were at Goodison, like I said. What was your experience of that one? How do you look back to that night?
Like, again, it's hard to say, especially with Eddie Hearn and that, but I don't think it was a gimmick, especially with Bellew, because obviously he's been a passionate Everton fan since God knows when. Like, just what you're saying about Ritson, he's got like the logo on his shorts, wears blue, comes out to Z cars, and like, he basically, like, that wasn't a gimme fight at all. It was like him challenging for the vacant WBC belt against Makabu, who, although we haven't seen anything of him since, at the time was sort of this renowned, like, feared, unknown puncher, and was a real test for Bellew. A lot of people think Bellew was going to get sparked out in that.
Well, he went into that the underdog with the bookies. I remember he was over even money that night, Bellew.
And like, he went into it, and obviously afterwards, like, being in the press conference and stuff, like, yes, he was world champion, and you could see what that meant to him. But he said since, like, winning the world title at Goodison Park, he's never going to top that. Like, he's beat David Hay twice, and I'm not getting into the condition of David Hay and all the rest of it, but like, he could go on and fight like a heavyweight. Let's talk about Usyk now, and that would be a massive fight. But even if that was at Goodison, it wouldn't top the first time he did it. And like,
yeah, I get that. I don't think it will be. I don't even think it'll be entertained, will it? I think it was a one-off thing. I think, and maybe that's rightfully so. Do you know what I mean?
But I mean, and
that special night, hasn't he?
But the reward of that comes from such a big risk, and like we're saying about his opponent, but like he'd said, like, if he'd lost, like, how would he have been able to show his face in Goodison Park? And like, obviously he wants to go there and watch his Everton, like, beloved Everton team, and it's like, imagine you going to St James's Park and that was the scene of one of your worst, like, nights as a professional boxer. Like Kell Brook, as you say, Kell Brook lost, and like,
he lost,
like, you know, it wasn't a gimme fight at all. Like, he took on Errol Spence again, another dangerous puncher, and I think a lot of that stemmed from like Bellew's success and wanting to replicate that, and just how special a night it was. Like, I've got nothing against Bellew. I wouldn't say I was his biggest fan. Like, not particularly like bothered about Everton at all, but being in Goodison Park and being a football fan and a boxing fan, you couldn't help but sort of get caught up in it and get wound up in it. And like, even though the stadium wasn't anywhere near full, it was like, I'm probably going to get this wrong, was that the Gladys Street end was like full, and then the ring was obviously on the pitch, but it was similar to the Summer Rumble. It was right next to one of the stands.
Right.
So sort of 3 stands of the football stadium had supporters in, and then like the ringside seats. So it was only like half the stadium at most was full, but it was still that thing of Bellew walking out the tunnel and like having that like that as we say, it's almost like a trademark now, isn't it? Stadium fight, to, as just what you've said earlier, tick off the list.
Well, that's it. It is. I think that's what it is. And just going back to this weekend's Carlfountain, you know, it's great for him. It really is, and he's a Belfast boy, and he deserves it, I guess, because he's sort of done Irish boxing, Northern Irish boxing, Belfast boxing proud over the years, you know, and he's been everywhere. He's Santa Cruz fights, he's fought Manchester, he's fought Vegas, New York, and you just think, you know, if anyone deserves it, it is him. But the little thing I can't get my head around is that is the opponent underwhelming? It's a stadium fight. It is essentially, in my head, I guess it's just going to be a big shrine to Carlfountain, you know, and I guess that's how it should be. But does the opponent have to fit the bill, if you know what I mean?
Well, this is the key difference, isn't it? The ones,
because we don't know much about him, I guess. But was it the mega fight that Frank Warren initially hyped up? Do you know what I mean?
Well, no, the whole point of, like we're saying there, the stadium fight, it's it's the whole event, isn't it? It's like the spectacle of it all. And if you go back to, and again, I know there's ones happened earlier in this, but Froch Groves 2, that was a result of the controversial ending to the first one.
Yeah.
Groves' personality coming in, a genuine rivalry between the two, and it was like that almost perfect storm of all those different elements coming together that just made like, we need to do this. Like, Wembley's the only place big enough. This is like the biggest fight that could be made in British boxing at the time.
Yeah.
All of that, and then as I say, Bellew, yes, you've got that emotional attachment of the football club, but he was in a position challenging for a vacant world title against a very like feared opponent. Same with Cal Brook, he's defending his IBF title against his mandatory challenger Errol Spence, who again just happened to be one of the best in the world. So these were fights that almost were above the normal fight. So you could think, right, it needs to be special. Yes, we can put this in a stadium. It's going to be a special fight. Whereas, and same with Warrington and Selby, like Warrington again going in as the you could argue all three of those Englishmen were going in as the underdogs against their opponents. Obviously, Selby was heavily favoured over Warrington, and I think Frank Warren was sort of hedging his bets there. If Selby beat Warrington comfortably, then it was going to be Selby Frampton for the world title in Windsor Park.
I think
as
that's
this
probably
next
right,
one.
Right. I think that was, and I guess that's who inspired the works. But I also think, like you said, they've missed a big chance here to make this sort of Carl Frampton's defining night. And all right, if he wins, if he knocks Luke Jackson out, say, is it still the defining night of his career? Probably not.
No, not at all. I think
it's a celebration and one big loving, but I felt like this was the chance for it to be that pivotal night of his career. And
it's almost like this has the AJ type feel. Like AJ could fight me or you at Wembley and you'd still sell out.
Yeah.
Frampton at Windsor Park, the fact he's fighting Luke Jackson and, as you said, like close enough to selling it out, then it could have been Frampton against anyone. This is called Frampton at Windsor Park. That's what it's been sold as. That's what it is.
You know, I was being quite cynical a few weeks ago on Twitter, believe it or not, and I was saying, because it just seemed like every day we were getting emails from MTK and Frank Warren and stuff saying, oh, someone else from Belfast has been added to the in the card. And my initial thought, being the cynic that I am, sort of like, is this not selling well? Do you know what I mean? Like, Conrad Cummins was added and a few others, and, you know, there was Crocker and all these Belfast lads, and I was thinking, are they just adding local fighters on here to sell more tickets? And then I think it was Boxing Tickets, Northern Ireland, just and a few others, Ryan Mark and a few other people were just like, no mate, it's selling really well. I was like, alright.
But I think it just, I guess
it is great for these lads further down the bill to be on the undercard as well.
It's just part of that celebration, as you say. It's all about Irish boxing, and like Frampton is obviously, he still is, but he has been for a long time the main man, like the leading shining light in Irish boxing. And it's just again, there'll be an opportunity. Like all of those boxers will want to get on the card. Like obviously, we're close with a lot of the Northeast lads who will be chomping at the bit to get on like any matchroom card that comes up here and wanting to get involved with it. And it'll be the same for them. And obviously, like Carl's now working like with MTK. He's obviously close friends with a lot of the lads there. Like we mentioned, Conrad Cummins, Paddy Barnes on the undercard as well.
Paddy Barnes, yeah.
Like they'll all be wanting to get involved and experience what will be like a special night for Ireland. And again, St Northern and Southern, I'm probably going to get into trouble there. But like Frampton seems to be one of those that like crosses the divide. Like obviously, I know they've all boxed for Ireland as as amateurs and stuff. So it's like that unity within Ireland that doesn't exist normally within like the wider walks of life. It seems to be very prominent in boxing, and it's great to see. Like
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching it. We're definitely recording, aren't we? It's definitely.
Yeah, it's on. Why?
You definitely hit the button. No, I was just staying on that card. I guess there's a certain heavyweight that may steal or try and steal the show.
Is this another box for the British Boxing Blog bingo?
What have I said now?
No, just always here to talk about Ritson and Fury.
Oh yes, Fury. That's. I just think he's a fascinating one. You know, he fought Safari first fight back, which was pretty shocking to be honest. I know he's
used the word fought loosely there.
He's fighting Pianetta, who we'll call him a world title challenger, which he was back quite a long time ago. But then I think the curveball's been thrown that, you know, we're now being told that Fury v Deontay Wilder's 99% done.
That last percent's taken a long time, considering how quickly the first 99 got done.
Well, I know, that's what I was thinking, and I seen today that Wilder is due into Belfast on Saturday. I think the key word there being is due. Will he be there or will he not? Also, if it does get made, and I guess sometimes I try and stick to the principle of just talking about fights when they are made, and hypothetical fights in boxing sort of get me nerves a bit. But if it does get made, you can't tell me this is the plan. Seferi, Pianetta, then straight into Wilder. Is it cashing in? Is it too good an opportunity to turn down? Is it just solely to get a dig at Eddie Hearn? Like, what is the what's the crack here? You can't tell me that was Fury's 3-fight plan coming back. Seferi, Pianetta, then Deontay Wilder. Surely, can you?
Well, if, and this is probably one of the biggest ifs in boxing according to many fans, if you believe what Eddie Hearn said, one of the main reasons that he didn't sign Fury or Fury didn't want to sign with him was because Fury himself wanted like 4 or 5 of these sort of warm-up fights, these gimmies, and like he said as much to himself in a few interviews and stuff that he's looking to have at least 3 of these fights or whatever. And again, there'll be loads of different reports out there, but that always sort of seemed the plan because of how big he'd got, how long he'd had out the ring, and how not poor he was, but a little bit rusty, and how poor the whole Seferi fight was. And you just looked at that and you thought, he is quite a way away from his best in like fighting the likes of Wilder and Joshua. And then obviously the Pianetta fight, very smart move, I think, putting him on the undercard of this one, just adds that other sort of bit of interest, a bit of spark for the casual fan. If you're not on board with Frampton and all of Irish boxing, it's that big name. It's something that you think, Fury's fighting again, he's always entertainable, I'll tune in. But he's I don't know, because just again, I'm not getting into the whole hypothetical Joshua Wilder, who's to blame for that, but just the sheer amount of time and energy that went into both sides bickering and quarrelling about that, and then it not getting made, and Joshua suddenly having 2 Wembley dates booked.
Well, that's
for then Wilder to be like, right, well, actually, Fury's 99% done. He's so much easier to deal with than Joshua and Matchroom and whoever else is involved there. We've got it done. I'm coming into Belfast because obviously there was the hoo-ha about how Wilder wouldn't be allowed to get in the ring and confront Joshua at one of his last fights, and then he didn't fly in, and Wilder's avoiding Joshua. And then it's just as you say, it's almost all the opposites that Frank Warren and Team Wilder are trying to tick off. We've had some productive talks, we're getting on well, Wilder's going to be ringside for this one, and suddenly it's again, you believe it when you see it. I think
that's what it is. I think as Wilder posted on Twitter today saying Belfast, Northern Ireland, I'm coming, or something like that. Are they going to make a big, massive present of it and sign it in the ring after Fury's fight? If at all, I just don't. I think I had an interview with Warren with Boxing Social last week, and he said it's gone from 95% to 99% done now. And again, I don't know, but
what is that 1% though? What is that 1%? What just needs? Is that 1% them literally signing the contracts? Because why is that dragged on for a week?
Weekend, I don't know. Is this one big game? I don't know.
Again, it could be them just sort of having a dig at Matchroom. It could be that they're serious about making it, and again, not necessarily Fury's record of him personally. I know he's pulled out with Klitschko, of a fight with Klitschko when he's injured, and then obviously he's banned and what have you. But he didn't have the best luck when he was fighting David Haye, and you just think even if it gets signed, you're not going to believe it's going to happen until they're in the ring ready to hit each other.
I'd hope it's not Fury's sort of easy way out of boxing, because he looks he seems to be great at the minute, mentally, physically, the whole lot. He seems to be really enjoying himself, judging on social media, but I just hope it's not just a quick payday for him. And as I said before, I'm not saying he's that type of guy. I just mean, I can't believe that it was initially in his 3-fight plan, and I don't really think it was, but maybe, I guess, to borrow an Eddie Hearn phrase, that sometimes sometimes opportunities present themselves that are too good to turn down, and maybe this is one. And I'm sure he'd back himself to go there and win. But also, I don't know, when he beat Safari, he said in the ring on the night, he's like, I'll have a world title by the end of the year. And I think people looked at that thinking, well, is this going to be Manuel Charles' regular belt? Because he was in the audience that night, and I thought, well, that's an easy fight to make, I guess, a winnable fight. And it sort of, gives him a foot rung, a rung on the ladder, so to speak. But then this one has just sort of came from nowhere, and again, as we've got to stress that it isn't signed yet. So
I would love to see it happen.
I guess we'll hear more about it on Saturday, post-fight, I guess.
And I think with any boxer, if you take out all of the promoters, the managers, the advisors, all the rest of it, boxer against boxer, both men are going to believe that they're going to win. And ordinarily, I would say that about absolutely anyone, like especially Tyson Fury. The only sort of issue with that, I think, him having so much time out the ring, and because he had the way he was with that Safari fight, it was almost like he was a little bit unsure of himself, like how he was going to handle it all, and obviously he's had like troubles in the past, and it just seemed like it was a big relief. So now he's got that out of the way. Maybe he's thinking, right, I do just need this one Pianeta fight, and then like bring on Wilder. Like I can outbox him.
Well, I guess he could go into a massive camp between August and I think the fight is rumoured to be December if it gets made again. With Wilder, so it gives them enough time to get into some absolutely amazing physical condition, similar to the Klitschko fight, and he's got a lot of work with. But again, it's fascinating if it does get made, and let's hope for the sake of boxing that it really does. But these are the fights you want to see, I guess. But I don't know. I was surprised to see Fury with being the bookies' favourite for a lot of people. I just think he's had a long time out, and I don't know. It's a really long time out, and which I guess are going to be low-key tune-up fights, if you can even call the first one that. It's a big job. Do you know what I mean? But again, it is a fight that I'm sure we'll all be glued to if it does indeed get made.
If it does happen, do you think it makes the winner v Joshua in April more or less likely?
I think if Fury wins it, I don't understand how him and Joshua can get made unless the two sides put their head together and people say, well, maybe Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders is made or whatever, and that's totally... that's an easier fight to make. That's Matchroom USA and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure they've came to some deal with regards to the rights of that one and stuff, and again, if that does happen. But I just don't understand how, if you're Tyson Fury, for example, or Joshua, or Hearn, or Warren, you then turn around and say, right, I've got, bear in mind BT Sport box office is rumoured to be launching soon, right, you've got Sky Sports box office, Joshua, Hearn, I just can't understand, and can't see how, say, Frank Warren is going to say, alright Tyson, off you go, I'll let you go and fight on Sky Sports box office, and just, he's now one of BT's, or if, one of BT's flagship fighters, I guess, he's the face of BT Sport Boxing, him, Frampton, Billy Joe, etc. I don't know which side's going to, give in and say, right, Joshua's not going to fight on BT Sport box office, we know that, so I guess it depends on the Fury and the Warren side to turn around and say, okay, this is the deal's now right for us, we'll let you go on Sky Sports box office, but it's a kick in the teeth, isn't it? You just sort of letting another side get the upper hand there, I guess.
Especially if Fury's coming with the WBC belt, having just beat Wilder, he's going to be demanding a bigger share than he would want now, and
absolutely, aye.
Like it would be hard to argue, because then obviously Joshua would have more belts and sort of arguably be the bigger draw. Yeah. But from a boxing sense, Fury would have a lot of very stable ground to stand on. He's be in a good position to say, well, actually, I'm the lineal champion. No one's actually like Joshua's belt. No one beat Fury for those belts. You've got that historical claim, and then he's obviously coming with the WBC belt, having beaten Wilder, who, for whatever reason, Joshua hasn't fought, or whether he's refused or Wilder's refused, whatever the reason is, it's a fight that Joshua couldn't get in. It just adds something to the division. As I say, I really hope it happens.
No, massively does, but it could delay even more. Fury could have his mandatories or whatever, and he could, You could drag it out a bit more and defend it at home, have a couple of more paydays, and you just don't know how it's going to work, do you? But, you never know what Matchroom are thinking, when once Dillian White's still in the background.
Well, this is it. Moving on to him.
For a long time that they're dying to make Joshua White too, in my
well, we've said that for a while. You especially said that, and I think the fact that
already, do you know what I mean? They've had history. White has improved, I guess, and
they've dealt with, obviously, from a Joshua point of view, he's got Povetkin, who is by no means a gimme. He's a deserving challenger with you.
No, he is.
Give him credit.
He's a Povetkin, and he's a cleaner Povetkin. And
well, apparently, aye. But that's what I mean with you've got the ped issues and stuff, and whether you agree that he should be boxing at all or not, it's irrelevant really, because he is, and he's obviously got himself ranked with the WBA.
Yeah.
He's in a position where he's backed financially, and I think it's obviously then got to the point where Matchroom and I don't even know who it is. Is it? It's not K2, is it? That did the Klitschko's. Whoever is it represents Povetkin.
The World of Boxing, sorry.
Yeah, they've come to some arrangement, and obviously Povetkin's fighting Joshua. It's a fight you'd expect Joshua to win, but Povetkin's no mug. He's only lost to Klitschko. Depending on what condition he comes in, he's going to fancy the job and all the rest of it. If Joshua comes through this one, I would be very, very surprised if it's not Dillian White that's waiting for him, as you say, for Joshua White too.
Yeah, me too.
Because
you
White's got himself in this position. I think plan A was to have him fight Wilder. Obviously, they made a lot of song and dance about that for the WBC, and then have Joshua and White unify if White was successful. But White's not going to hang around. He's showed signs already. He's getting very impatient of not having a world title fight.
I think that's a good point. It is. He's got the name on his record now. He's got Parker in his record. I know Joshua has as well, but his stock's never been higher against Dillian White now.
And this is it. This was my point last time. And before White Parker, I was getting into a bit of a debate with various people about the quality of the show. And the main event for me, it was a good fight. You had, this was before it actually obviously happened. Afterwards, it was a great fight. But that's with hindsight. But looking at that, you had White, who's sort of fringe level world challenger, world title challenger, whatever. A lot of people already had him in that world-class bracket, which I didn't really understand, because his best win was arguably a close decision over Chisora, or if you're judging it on performance, his stoppage of Lucas Brown. But then you've got to look at the quality. Yes, former regular title holder or whatever Lucas Brown was, the condition and the state of him on fight night, it took a little bit away from White's great performance.
Well, that's it.
Whereas the Parker win, Parker's no mug. Again, it's hard to decisively say just how good he is. Yes, he was a world champion and he'd only lost to Joshua. So from those points, yes, he is in today's climate a world class heavyweight.
He let a tinge of disappointment with people. I think Parker just, the White fight was a cracking fight. Don't get me wrong, but could he have maybe done more? And could he have put it on White earlier when White was tired, going over all ground here, I guess. But I don't know. He looked. A lot of people saying looked like a man who was comfortably now got millions and millions of pounds in the bank. I don't know. And will we have the same in a boxing ring again? Will he have that hunger to?
Well, we said the same when he fought Joshua. He was very reserved, and Joshua stuck to his boxing and frustrated him, but he didn't really have that plan B or that, as you said, the desire to put it on him. Whereas he did very late on against White.
Very too late on. That was the issue with it. It was too late. You can see watching it. People were saying White was gone from gassing from the fourth. I thought the fourth was early, but the sixth, seventh, you can see he was slowing down. But Parker just didn't put it on him enough, and and I guess he's came away. He's made a lot of friends, and he's had 2 cracking nights and paydays now and stuff. But he's never really. I don't know. Has he showed enough? I guess, but will he come back? Who knows? Will he have the hunger? I guess. Another fight that's going on looks like Pulev versus Hughie Fury is going to happen out in Bulgaria. I don't know.
Well, this was the issue with White, because White had the opportunity to fight Pulev in Bulgaria, and he refused, and it was all. Yeah. That's what sort of irked me about White a little bit. It's almost, and it's not just him. There's a lot of boxers out there, and we talked about with the one in the stadium fights. It's a sense of entitlement. Yes, White's done well. He's rebounded fantastically from the Joshua defeat. But for me, he hadn't really done anything pre-Parker to say, yeah, like I am in the position to like call out the world champions, and I'm not knocking him for that because he got in the position where he was ranked number 1 with the WBC. He's ranked highly with the IBF and all the other bodies. So from a purely logistical point of view, he has done enough. He can say I'm the number 1 contender, but you look at his record and you think, well, what's he actually done? And if he wasn't with Matchroom, he wouldn't be in that position.
Well, that's it. And I think you've got to. That's I think lately, maybe after the sort of Parker fight, he's said himself, actually I am still learning and I need one more fight before a big fight. And it's quite refreshing to hear, I guess. But he didn't have much amateur experience, and I don't know. I think a lot of people are now taking the right on it. But again, whether it happens, I don't know. What does he do next? I think someone asked us this question on Twitter today as one of the questions. I forget who that was now. They were saying, do you think Dillian Whyte should fight again this year, or should he wait it out? I think basically was the question, wasn't it?
It was, and I'm just looking to see who sent this. But with answering that question, this is where the difference is between a boxer, their team, so their promoters, their managers, whoever else is representing and working with them, and boxing fans. So from a fan point of view, and I think I wrote a piece about this a while ago now, from a fan point of view, I've got no interest in Whyte having a takeover fight.
That was the question. It was Stephen Mock. He said, should Whyte go for a big fight in December, or as he knows he has a title fight in April regardless, should he just have a takeover fight? So I guess you're on the verge of answering that right now.
Yes, exactly. So from a fan's point of view, what's the point in putting Dillian Whyte in a 6-8 rounder against someone who he's comfortably going to beat? From his point of view, what's the point in that? Is he going to just he's not going to learn anything from that? But then you put your business head on, you look at it from Whyte's point of view, his promoter's point of view. Why put him in with another risky fight? They already mentioned in the build-up, the fact that one, Whyte Parker, was pay-per-view, is because for them to generate the money that Whyte wanted, the money that Parker obviously wanted, the money that they felt they needed because it was such a big risk, so you want that bigger reward. Who's out there that's going to be Dillian? Who's out there? Well, outside the world champions, because you're ruling out Wilder, ruling out Fury, ruling out anyone else really. Joshua's obviously not going to be fighting before April. Who's out there that you're going to think, right, this is another good big fight that Whyte can get?
Yeah. And it's a hard one to answer. You're right, you make some good points there. It's a good one. We should ask our followers that. Who, if not Joshua next, then who for Dillian Whyte, I guess.
But no, it's not necessarily if not Joshua next. It's saying if you want him to fight in between now and April when Joshua's next available. So say
I think he'll fight between. I don't think he'll do. I don't think Dillian Whyte's the type. He's not the most aesthetic, pleasing heavyweight, I guess. And I think it would do him good to. August to April's a long time to stay inactive, I guess, for someone like Dillian Whyte.
No, it is, but then, as you say, do you look maybe? I know he mentioned in the aftermath, possibly fighting Manuel Charr himself.
Yeah.
And he was quite happy that he would consider the WBA regular world title.
What about Chisora coming off the back of that monumental win against Takam?
Well, his name was in my head, and again, I think the first fight of theirs was brilliant, and it's one I've wanted to see a rematch of. Again, putting from a fan point of view, which I am at the end, overall, over anything, whatever involvement we have in the website and the podcast and all the rest of it, I'm a fan of boxing. I want to see good fights.
Right.
So wanting to see the second one of that and be fantastic, but it's also intriguing because you've got Whyte who's claiming that he's world level and he's ready for world champions, and he's obviously beat Parker there, who's by far the best win on his resume. He should be, in theory, levels above Derek Chisora, but he wasn't on that night when they fought. He wasn't, and is that a clash of styles? Is it someone, if you put it on Whyte, can he keep his cool, or will he get dragged into that war as he did? And it's intriguing from that point of view for White to then say, well, actually, I have learned a lot since that fight. I'm going to beat Chisora. I'm going to beat him handily.
Well, that's it.
And then be ready for like the Joshua fight in April, if that's what's on the cards.
That's it. I don't know. I guess it makes sense now to do it. They both, that night of the O2, we won't get into was it pay-per-view, was it not, blah blah. But in the end, it was a good night of boxing, and they both caught the eye that night for a different type of fights, but both cracking heavyweight fights. And I guess if you're Eddie Hearn, and you're looking at it from that point of view, you think, well, I guess Chisora's stock's the highest now it's been for a while, just with that one massive swing of his hand, and White is, I guess, what I said earlier, highest it's been in ages. So it makes sense if you might as well do it now, I guess, next. Chisora hasn't got that long left in the sport, I wouldn't think, but, I guess, why not? Why not do it again? The first fight is a good fight, so it makes sense. It's two British fighters. I'm sure they need no encouragement to, create a beef as the matchroom, or a narrative again as the matchroom like to do, and put the build up will be fun and blah blah blah. I think if you ask British fight fans, especially, I guess they'd rather see that fight than say one, Manuel Charr, for example, and it does, I guess, make sense. And like you say, if White is the real deal, and if he has improved, then he should be dealing with Derek Chisora more convincingly now than he did the first time.
So, is Dillian White then now a pay-per-view fighter?
I knew you couldn't resist going to this.
Well, no, I can't, and I'm going to get onto it, and I am going to eat a bit of humble pie and say that if I had been in the country, and like I probably would have sat there bored on Saturday night and paid me £20 or whatever, or tried to stream it and watched it. But in hindsight, that was a great card because you had, like as you say, Chisora Takam was an absolute war, and it was a totally sensational knockout.
Yeah.
The main event was back and forth. It was entertaining between two top 6, probably like arguably now top 5 level, like world level heavyweights. You had the whole Dave Allen, like loving everyone happy for him with that, like again a sensational knockout.
Yeah.
But it's coming back to what I was saying before. On paper, looking at that card, I didn't think that was worth £20 more than your average Sky Sports card.
Sky Show, no, I think that was the issue, wasn't it?
And that was my main issue, and I haven't thought about it. I tried to sort of type my thoughts onto this one and put it as an article, but I couldn't clarify them enough, so I was waiting for the podcast. I thought, right, we'll talk about it, because loads of people messaged me and were saying, like, I'm paying for it, I'm doing this, and
we got a lot of feedback.
It comes down to it's your individual choice, isn't it? It's like with anything, and a couple of people often through the what would you pay for a night out? And it's like, well, that doesn't come into my thinking, because if I'm watching the boxing, I'm saving money from a night out, so I'm not going on that night out.
Well, that's it. I said all along that, I agree with you that I didn't think the card on paper was genuine, was a pay-per-view card. I liked the main headline fight, I really did. It was a 50-50 fight going in, and I guess it proved to be that on the night. There wasn't much to split both of those two. I did say from the start I would buy it, and I guess this is where you sort of took issue with me, I guess, a bit, because the reasons for buying it were sort of simple, really. That I was in the house that night. It was the end of July. The World Cup was finished. There was no other sport on at all of interest. I knew I was in. I wasn't out. I wasn't with, girlfriend. Nothing like that. I was in, and I thought, well, I need a Saturday night entertainment and a night of boxing. It was. And
that's what someone said to me. They were like, oh, well, 3 to 4 hours of boxing entertainment, and not discussing the quality of the boxing, just 3 to 4 hours of boxing entertainment is worth £20. And it's like, that's fine, I can get on board with that. I've paid £35 to go and watch people who aren't even sort of area level at the O2 Academy before. So I can get that, and from that point of view, me paying to go see a local show, we've done it on behalf of Johnson McClumpher before, a particular boxer. You're supporting that boxer, you're supporting them, and some people were saying they were paying it because they wanted Dillian White to get the money, and I was like, that's fine. Again, I wasn't having to go. I'm not going to slam anyone that pays for pay-per-view boxing.
We're not always in on Saturday nights, and sometimes, I know I'm going to be in this Saturday, so my anticipation's buzzing for sort of Frampton and Fury and all that. Sitting in front of the car from 7:30, and getting some food and some beers, and you think, oh, on. But then other nights, I know I'm not going to be in, so it's, I guess, having a night in front of the boxing for me is like, I love it, and, I don't, how do I word it, like, I knew I was going to be in for the next Gen show the other week. I recorded it, I watched Claudine about the next day, I didn't watch the rest, but I don't know, it's weird, I love nothing better than sitting in front of a whole boxing show, like this Saturday, you've got Newcastle there, they kick off, you've got Chelsea, Arsenal, and you've got Phantom Fury, and you're like, what a cracking sports Saturday that is,
Oh, it's fantastic, and again, like,
that was similar to what I was thinking last, when I bought that Chisora, I just knew that I had no other social plans, whatever, that night, and I thought, well, needs must, I'm going to buy it. Didn't really think going into it that it was worth the 20 quid, but my own, I guess, weak-willed nature of wanting something to watch and wanting some boxing to sit in front of, made us buy it, I guess, and maybe I'm part of the problem.
Well, no, the thing is, and when I was thinking about this and like the comparison of a night out or whatever, and I was in my head, I'm thinking, right, well, that's like, how can I actually compare it and say, well, this is like, it's like this or whatever. If I'm looking at that, right, like that boxing card, and I'm working fight for fight, I'm thinking, right, well, the main event's good. Chisora to Cam, in my head, I was thinking that could be an absolute bore fest. Like, depending on which Chisora turns up, that could be two durable heavyweights plodding towards each other, throwing a bit, taking some time off in the rounds, blah, blah, blah. And it could have, it obviously didn't turn out like that at all. My boxing knowledge out the window, but in my head, I'm thinking, and then like Dave Allen, Nick Webb, barely a British level fight, but again, sometimes it doesn't have to be a world class boxers in there to make it entertaining.
Well, that's it.
But look, and Conor Ben Payno, the first fight, that was an absolute war. But again, you're looking.
It wasn't great. This last one.
Not really area level.
That night against an unbeaten kid, he finished that with a lovely punch, and he looked probably the best he turned since he turned pro. It was a decent night, I guess, looking back.
But as a consumer, right, like as a customer, purely from a consumer point of view, if I go out on a night out or whatever, I pay £5 for a pint. If my pint's not up to scratch, if I taste that and I say, oh, it's off, it's flat or whatever, I go back, I get it exchanged for another one, I get a refund. If I go for a meal and it's not up to, like, I don't think it's good enough, I can complain within reason. I can pick fault, I can get my money back, I can get a refund. And again, looking at a pay-per-view boxing card, if technically there are issues and it doesn't stream or it doesn't show, it doesn't work, whatever, everyone bombards Sky and gets the refund back and gets the money back or gets it towards the next show or whatever. If from and this is obviously where it differs with your normal customer experience, it's a sports thing, it's the results, the action, the quality of that, the entertainment point of view, it's not guaranteed. So like Eddie Hearn said before, he's like, oh, judge me after the show. And obviously after the show, everyone's happy. It was a mint, really entertaining night of boxing. But if it wasn't, if the fights were absolute shite, if they were totally boring, you're not going to get a refund for that, are you? And that's where it comes in. And rather than it being like a customer experience, it's almost like a gambling point of view. You're placing your £20 down.
You are. I guess that is the case with sport in general.
Well, it is.
Obviously, I'm sure there's all the times we've both followed Newcastle home and away. I'm sure we've you pay your money, you take a chance, if you know what I mean. Like I'm sure we've both been on many away games where we thought, God, that was dreadful.
And it is exactly, and that's the point. That's the comparison. It's not as a customer, and you can't look. I was saying, like, from a consumer point of view, why is this product worth more than like that one or whatever? And it's not. You can't necessarily look at it like that because the sport, it's that unpredictable element. So you pay it based on what you think in it, whether you think it's worth it or not. Like, I might not agree with you, but if you pay it and then it surpasses your expectations, as it would have done if I'd paid for this show we were talking about, I'd have been happy and think, oh, well, that's totally worth it. Whereas like the last one I paid for was Bellew Hay 2, and at no point did I think the main event was going to be competitive. I thought Hay was past it, and so it proved. I was a little bit frustrated that it happened like that, but there was a few decent matches on the undercard that caught me interest. I thought, that's worth my money, I'll pay for that one, like, no issue with that. Whereas like this one I didn't.
It's hard, isn't it? You pay money, you take your choice, and I guess we'll have this conversation again in a few weeks with Joshua, but just to, I guess, bounce it out, give them a big credit. I am quite enthused by the way the Joshua undercard's taking place for Joshua Povetkin. I think Campbell Mendy is a good rematch. I think it's a good fight for Campbell at this stage, which he should win handily, I guess, this time. Hopefully, you would hope.
You probably would have said that the first time though as well. You would have said that he'd have beaten handily the first time.
Yeah, you would, but I guess he showed against Linares that, he'd improved from that fight, I guess. I'm sure if he reaches that level of performance, then you would think he'd have enough to beat Mendy. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I like Luke Campbell. I think he's really, obviously, his amateur background's phenomenal. Like, he's really talented.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of question marks. He's been dropped a few times as a pro and stuff, and you think, has he got the sort of man strength to compete with the top lightweights? But
he was almost a forgotten. No, I don't want to say a forgotten man, but I had forgotten about Luke Campbell. I guess when he was out in Miami training, wasn't he? But I guess he's going to be over here now with McGuigan, which I'd like to think that's a good move for him. And it was, I guess, when you've got now the next wave of Olympians who've came through, you sort of forgot that Luke Campbell was like the golden boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
In the matchroom, but he sort of went under the radar a bit. When English fighters do go abroad to fight for world titles,
I think, to be honest though, it's arguably because he lost to Mendy. Like, it just shows the sort of fickle nature of boxing fans, and we keep saying that, why are boxers protecting the unbeaten records? They're not the be all and end all. And then he loses to Mendy, and probably a fair proportion of British boxing fans wrote him off, and like,
I think that's what it is.
Maybe lost a bit of interest in him.
Everyone's hyped up to be some lightweight genius to but yeah, he's got to beat off Mendy. And then I think the Linares fight clawed a lot of favour back. Some people saying he won it. I'm not sure about that. But,
I think it was closer than a lot expected. I thought Linares would have dominated, to be honest. Just from, as you said, like, from what I was saying there about Campbell having been dropped before, and like Linares being that elite level. But again, from a boxing point, like that technical skill set point of view, Campbell showed he can mix it with the very best. And a lot of previous world challenges where Brits have gone abroad, they've come up short, and I've proved I'm world class, and it's like, well, no, you've been in there with someone who's of a good level, but you haven't really showed you on their level. Whereas Campbell showed he was, if not the same level as Norris, very, very close, and gave him a lot of bother. So you'd think, coming down to that European fringe world level, as you say, he should outbox Mendy comfortably.
No, definitely, and it is good to see him with McGuigan. I think that could be, we talk a lot about trainers and fighters being a good match, and I'd like to think that one will be as well. Another fighting out on the card is Matty Askin defending his British Cruiserweight title against Lawrence Okoli.
Before we go into that one, can I just ask you, so Luke Campbell training with Shane McGuigan, I rate Campbell as a boxer, I rate McGuigan as a trainer. How do you think that's going to affect Luke working with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn? Because the McGuigans and Mr. Hearn don't particularly get on, do they?
No, they don't. No, it's a fair point. They don't. But
I just thought I'd ask that because that was one of the first things when I saw them train together. I thought, like what you said, I was that's a good match, like technically, and like they could work well together. But then I
guess they're going to have to. I guess they've obviously been okay with it to put the Mendy match on, and to for Shane to train him for that fight, and knowing it's going to be on Sky, knowing you'll have to deal with Eddie Hearn in some way. I guess it'd be a sad day when trainers and promoters can't work together. Do you know what I mean? I get when certain, how far does it go? I guess, I don't know, I'd hope they can all be bigger men and, get around that, but you never know in boxing, do you? But
exactly, yeah, we'll see. Just want to watch.
No, it is definitely one to watch. I guess with him still being a matchroom fighter rather than a cyclone fighter, and he's only trained by McGuigan, and he's not he's not managed to promoted by Barry. I guess is still, I guess he's got no choice, has he really? But it is one to keep an eye on, certainly.
Right, so again, I agree with you. I looked at the card on BoxRec, and these are the only 3 fights. So we've got Joshua Povetkin, Campbell Mendy, and then, as you've just said, Okoli Askin for the British Cruiserweight title.
I like that fight a lot. There's been talk, and it's quite refreshing, Okoli, isn't he?
He's not messing about, is he?
Nah, he's not messing about. He's going his way, and I guess a lot of Olympians or prospects, these prospects that we have, maybe he wouldn't have fancied asking for the British. They could have totally just bypassed that one. You know, he's a good fighter, Matty Askin. He's getting better as well, I guess, as the years go by. And it's a tough fight that for a Coley, and it could be anyway. And he could have swerved that, I guess, but he hasn't, and he's he wants it. He wants all the belts. He wants to do that traditional route, which a lot of boxing fans love. And
I'm one of them. I'm a massive fan of that. To be honest, he's got my respect from the Next Gen show up here when he lent us Eddie Hearn's Charger. But
he's a lovely, he's a nice guy.
He's continued it. Like the fight, obviously. Okay, I'm not going to know whether it was a headline fight or not, but see him and Isaac Chamberlain, they put their records on the line early on, and they've showed that that didn't go gel particularly well. It wasn't a great fight, but a Coley,
he had too much room.
He absolutely demolished him. And I looked class against Watkins, and then obviously Askins.
He's not afraid to, as you say, to put it on the line, is he, and do that, step up when appropriate. And he seems the character to me that wouldn't be ashamed in getting beat. Do you know what I mean? If he gets beat, he'll come again. I think he seems to just have that old fighter's mentality of like, all right, he wants to fight, I'll fight him. And I think it's a good on him for winning the British title, and aiming for the British title. Sorry, he's doing it the traditional way, and I think that's great. And fair play to him for that. But it's a good fight. I guess Coley will go into it the favourite, but you can never rule out Matty Askin either, do I think?
No, Askins looked good recently as well, and he's obviously a lot more experienced. He's normally, I don't know, it's a really good match, because in this sort of situation, as you say, you've got the young prospect, and you think, we'll have to put him in because the sort of older, experienced domestic fighter is maybe on the slide, but Askin hasn't shown any signs of that recently, so it's not one of those where you think, it's a crossroads fight and it's a stepping stone. This is like a real fighter Coley finds himself in.
Well, that's it, and fighting Wembley Stadium for Askin, it's huge, and good on him. I'm really looking forward to that. So again, let's see what else gets out of it in due course. We're about a month away, just over a month away, I guess, so a bit more than that. From that night, September the 22nd, it's a cracking September lined up, by the way, boxing-wise. I guess we'll touch on that in the podcast before then. We'll definitely do one, so I've quite enjoyed this.
It's been good getting it off your chest again, eh?
Before now, we're about over an hour into this conversation, but we did talk quite a lot of rubbish before we started the podcast. Do you want to touch on the local scene?
Yeah, well, a couple of our questions that we've got relate strictly to that. CM Sports Agency, Colin from there said, what venue other than the ones used at the moment would you like to see used in Northeast boxing, and small hall or big shows?
Well, it's funny. Do you remember when we were at the arena last time for Richmond, and we were walking back to your car with Steve Wraith, and he mentioned there's going to be a venue opening in Newcastle. I think it's going to be the basketball team, the Eagles' new venue. Is that what he said?
Yeah, I think so.
And it was going to be a couple of thousand, but with an opportunity to sort of lower that, or in due course you can move the seats, blah blah blah. So I guess for potential sort of next gen level shows or small hall shows, I think in Steve Wraith he's going to try and get use of that in future as well. So that could be a good one. Northeast venues, I guess for us, an introduction to the Northeast fight scene was going to watch them at the old O2 Academy in Newcastle. It's not old, it's still there, but we went to watch the fights there, the Academy in Newcastle, and there's a music venue, and it wasn't amazing by any stretch, but I guess the nostalgia that was. Enjoyed some good nights there. Gated Leisure Centre's been used. I guess we're like most cities really, that we haven't specifically got a boxing venue per se. We've had good nights in the Waterdome, but they've been boiling hot. Even the last time we were there, it was a Sweatbox.
That was on my list.
We've had some cracking nights there. Again, it was great the other week. Just we go back to that. It was it's been done out. It was nice watching Tommy Ward win the IBF European title there a few weeks ago. That was good atmosphere all night. Good crowd of people in. Good boxing crowd. So there is venues up here that we can use,
That's the thing I'm thinking there. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and there aren't too many that haven't been used already. Because you're saying other than the ones used at the moment, what one? Which would you like to see?
St. James, we've been St. James's Park, the suite. The suite inside St. James's Park.
That's the one that obviously sticks in my mind. In that like the Summer Rumble, I'd love to see one on the pitch, whether it's for like a big stadium fight like we talked about earlier, or like this, like a small hall with just a section of, like, maybe imagine the ring just in front of the Gallagher end.
No, I love it. I really love that. And I guess for the fighters, it must mean the world of them boxing on the pitch. I've seen we talking about stadium fights before, but we have one every summer up here, the Summer Rumble at Stadium of Light, which Phil Jeffries puts on, which is, it's always a class day.
Because you could even use like the main stand at Gateshead Stadium for something like that.
That's another one, Gateshead Stadium. But as I said, we've been to shows at St James's and all over the shop, really. The Hartlepool ones where I used to go, Hartlepool Borough Hall, they were good shows, Dolphin Centre, Darlington, I'm just reading them all off now where we've covered this, Lancastrian Street, I remember Glenfoot, Kurt Goodens there, the atmosphere.
That was insane. That was probably one of the best fights I've seen.
That was sold out some more that night.
The best fights I've seen live, and one of the most intense atmospheres as well. It was absolutely cracking.
That was great. That was brilliant. That was one of our favourite nights. So there is, there's loads of venues you can use. Actually, there's probably more than you think when you list them all out, like we've just done. But there's a lot being used over the years, so it's interesting. It's a good question, that. But I guess it just depends on what your target is and who the fighter is, and just scale it up or down depending on ticket sales and things like that. But North East is seen as in pretty good health at the minute. Again, local wise, you were at the aforementioned Stadium of Light show. I did at the start of July. I did the Leighton Meadows show, which was Phil Jeffries, Dennis Hobson co-promoted show. It was on Free Sports at the end of July. Just seeing the cameras there. I know it's only Free Sports, people will say, but just for these lads to get on the telly and record it and watch it back, when they get in and stuff. And Glenn McCrory was there, Ritson was there. There's some good names there that night. There's a lot of, it was a really good feel to it. It was really well run and set out. It was a good night. Good win for Tommy as well, who's gone on to take a different route now. Vacated the British title. Tommy Ward, a lovely boxer, won on points, believe it or not.
I'd have put money on that.
He beat Rodriguez for the IBF European title. So I guess he's trying to get ranked a different way now. He's vacated the British, as I've just mentioned. So that was a good night. And I think just sort of linking Colin's question to the current North East scene, I was thinking about this last night actually, that you sort of blink and you miss it in a way that, if you look back to when we started British Boxing Blog, and you look back at that list of top 10 North East prospects we did, which got me in a bit of bother, you think there's a whole new generation now of North East prospects coming through again. Just off the top of my head, you've got the three lads that train at MTK Newcastle, Darren Ray, Chad Ellis, Kyle Redfern. You've got Joe Laws, who's making a big of a name for himself now on social media, and he's
in the ring as well, though. Like,
in
the ring, he's making a name for himself as well. Like the hype.
In the ring as well, he's 2-0. He stopped James Gorman in the first round at Leighton Meadows.
That's what I mean. 2-0, 2 stoppages, 300 tickets a show. So like that sort of thing gets you noticed very, very quickly.
He's could be Eddie Hearn's tweeting him back saying, good stuff. You have him on the October 13th show. He's a bit of a pest on social media, but again, I say a pest, but he's bombarding Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren nearly every day to get him on shows, and good on him. He's got the balls to do it, and he's putting himself out there, and he can clearly shift tickets again. There was a load of people there for him again at Leighton Meadows. He's a ticket seller. He's a cheeky chatty. He's good value. He's entertaining to watch. Whether he'll have bother stepping up, fighting the way he fights, remains to be seen. But for now, he's enjoying the ride. And I think I was speaking to Lewis Ritson about this, and I think people like Joe Laws have probably seen a bit of this, thinking, fancy a bit of that. He's sort of jumping on the coattails of Lewis, really, and thinking, hey, if you can do this, I'll fancy a bit. And the Benwell bomber, and he's
Phil Jeffries mentioned that, like, specifically, didn't he? After Ritson had beaten Highland, and basically saying, like, he's boxed on Summer Rumble, he's boxed at Leighton Meadows, he's boxed in these local shows, these small little shows, and he showed that you don't have to be an Olympian to get to a decent level as a pro, and you don't have to have that like big backing from the start. There's another way to do it. It's an alternative route. So all these lads who are thinking, I'm 6-0 and nothing's happened yet, like like Lewis didn't get that sort of recognition until he was in double figures in terms of fights.
No, he did it the hard way, which was touched on before, you know, and he had bad times, he was close to giving up the sport and stuff, and, you know, he's having it all, you know, he's having the time of his life now with it, he's loving it, keeping his feet on the ground though, he's still the same as he was, and, you know, he does give hope to fighters that you can come, you know, the long way around, it's not all about your GB podium squad and all that.
And before we go into like the audiobook version of his biography, I'm going to cut you there. Do you think, and this is from Beyond the Ropes pod, that Ritson's fanfare will translate down south? He'll be a northern star, no doubt. I'll let you run with that one.
I'll run with this one. Will it translate down south? It won't resonate as much with, you know, people up here where we're from relate to him because he's, sounds corny without this, but he's one of our own, I guess. And, you know, as I said before, he's synonymous with the football club now, with the city, with, you know, the more he fights in Metro Radio Arena, you know, it's, you just, you know, people up here will love him because he's, you know, but I guess a good fighter's a good fighter, and, you know, people will enjoy watching Lewis Ritson, you know, it probably have already, and, you know, it's what I've enjoyed is the reaction to him from people like who've never seen him before. I remember like Froch, Bellew, and all these people on Twitter, like Matthew Macklin, like, bloody hell, where's he came from? And, you know, just people watching him for the first time thinking, God, this kid's got a talent. And I just think a good fighter's a good fighter, and people will enjoy watching him. How far he goes remains to be seen, I guess. He's fighting in Birmingham on September 8th on the Amir Khan undercard, so he has got a fight before he fights up here again in October. So, I don't know, yes and no, I guess. Yes, that he's a good fighter and anyone will enjoy watching him, but I think his hope for now is 100% going to be, you know, our arena up here in Newcastle, I guess. And as you say, it's the same model as Warrington, it's the same model as these people that are, you know, synonymous with those towns, I guess. And, you know, that's the market for Lewis Ritson at the minute, I think, is to try and build boxing up here, and he's a sort of trailblazer at the minute, isn't he?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think just how big his fanfare gets basically depends on his success in the ring. Like,
well, that's it, and
if
he's so young as well, you know.
We talked about Luke Campbell there. Like, he come back from the Olympics, and like there's a massive sort of parade in Hull with his gold medal. Like, had the gold post box and stuff. He made his pro debut like outside in a stadium fight, and like obviously he won the whole Hull clash against Tommy Coyle. Like, a lot of hype behind him, and then he sort of lost it, and suddenly it's like, well, actually, like,
I think
is everyone behind him? And I'm not saying that if Ritson loses, everyone will like sack him off. I don't think they will at all.
No,
but
I don't think so.
I think
you might have to slow him down at some point. It's been a meteoric rise, really, when you think about he beat Robbie Barrett, and then he won he's won the British outright, I think, in 4 rounds. So if you think of Murray, Cardle, and then Highlands, you know what I mean? So he's 24, he's demolishing these British level people. He's got a European title fight next, opponent to be confirmed, I guess. But like, at what point do you like, whoa, like, let's slow this a bit, maybe, and take him off the radar for a bit, or new experiences, maybe, you know. I think the reason putting him on the Amir Khan bill was just to try and like to get him more rounds, I guess. But who are you going to fight? Who will he fight that'll take him rounds, or, you know, head of a European title fight? I don't know. It's a funny one, isn't it? An 8-rounder on the Amir Khan undercard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a lot further away than like Dillian White is, but like what we were saying before about him having to tick over, it's like, well, do you want, like, who do you fight that's of a suitable level that's going to get him rounds in, but isn't going to present a risk ahead of his bigger night to come? Because you don't want to be putting him in and have, like, again, this is like the boxing fan not talking now. This is from like a business and promoter, I'm looking after Lewis Ritson's interest point of view. You don't want him in an 8-round war where he's going to get cut, he's going to be battered and like whatever, and then he gets the nod, and then suddenly he's not in as good a position going into October. But then, what's the point in putting him in there with someone who's not at British level, like some foreign, not even journeyman, just opponent comes over and gets chinned within a round? It's like,
but I don't think Lewis Ritson fights though. Lewis Ritson won't be going into September 8th thinking, I'll just get some rounds in here, I'll go 6 rounds and then.
of course he'll not.
Like, he doesn't fight like that at all, and nor should he. And I don't know, it's a funny one. I think maybe he's a bit perplexed about it himself. thinking. But I think it came from Matchroom's direction, maybe. But he's like, you fight.
But again, he's a popular fighter now, so him being on that card will add a bit of interest. Like I'm saying, he's a popular fighter now. You were saying about him getting more national recognition, so it's like having him on that card is going to generate interest, and there'll be people think, "Oh, well, I'll tune in if he's fighting."
Oh, it is. I'm sure one of us will probably go down for it as well and keep on with that. But
well, that's it, because that's the same day as we're talking about different venues, and the Lancastrian Suite is hosting a couple in the next month or so. 2 in September lined up.
Steve Yates, Phil Jeffries now working closely together again. All good there. Steve, the two of them have got shows on. I think it's the start and end of the month, September the 8th, and I think it's the 29th, the week after Joshua. So there's a couple of shows, which 2 in a month. It's a big, at the same venue. Good on him. A couple of good fights. Tom Whitfield, Ellis Corey's a good 6-rounder on that local derby. Darlington, Ellis going up from Darlington against Tom, who's back in action from Mal Gates' gym. It'll be a good 6-rounder, that.
Yeah, we'll look at that one in a bit more detail, a bit closer, yeah. And there's again, it's a lot of them we've sort of mentioned already, like Chad Ellis, Darren Ray, Jay Hughes, Kyle Redfern.
That's it. Terence Wilkinson, going back to Lewis Ritson, trains under his dad, Dave Ritson at Forest Hall. Terence won well again on the Rayton Meadows show. He's 2-0 now. You saw his debut, I saw his second fight. There's a whole lot of British of lads. North East lads again, you're sort of, coming up
and normally I would say like we do with all sort of small hall shows, there's a potential that it's a card full of one-sided wins for the home fighters, but with the big Matchroom carrot dangling in front of them, there's going to be a few of them out to impress and hopefully getting the slots on that bigger show.
You've got fighters from all over the North East. Imran's just flying again. Mo Wackers came back and won very well the other week after a few years out. I guess now would probably be a good time to mention October the 12th, don't you think?
I think so, yeah. Seamless plug. Seamless and shameless.
Well, I guess November the 12th.
October the 12th.
Yeah?
You said November, October.
October the 12th, which is a Friday night. It's the day before the Matchroom show up here on the 13th. Steve Wraith and I guess ourselves will help put this together. The North East Boxing Awards of 2018, or was it 2019?
Yeah, 2018, second annual event.
Annual event, yes.
Last year's was
right in the centre of town. It should be a great night again. We'll probably start hammering this soon on social media. We'll have a bit of a meeting about this and come up with our different award categories and stuff. The usual format, fight of the year, prospect trainer, and it's a great way for North East fight community, I guess, fans, boxers, trainers, everyone to get together. It is the night before the Matchroom show, as I've just said, but that again is hopefully going to draw a lot more attention to it and a bit more pull about it, So I'm looking forward to that again, and we're going to start, I think, getting back around the gyms, getting people on board and getting the invites dished out in the categories and stuff. So it'd be great to see a lot of faces then, maybe more faces than last year again. And I think the more we do it, the more it'll increase hopefully in popularity as well. So it should be a great night, and it's free as well, by the way.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Like last year was
hit us up on social media.
Last year was a fantastic night, and we ended up hosting it, and not something we were prepared for necessarily, but we really enjoyed it. A lot of the nailed it, yeah. A lot of the pro boxers in attendance, they enjoyed the night as well, and I think it's a chance for, again, obviously, the fans to meet the boxers as well, and also a chance for to give back and just sort of celebrate, as you said there, the boxing community in the North East. We've got 2 of the main promoters working happily with each other. We've got a few bigger names now getting their sort of national recognition and moving hopefully into that world direction, world level.
We've got some new prospects coming up, we've got gyms absolutely flying, so it should be a good night, and I think for us two now, I think we've been talking the last few days about starting to get around the gyms again and maybe do more interviews and stuff, and I guess the more we do that in the run up to that, will spread the word, you know what I mean? And
you've literally just said that.
Familiar with all these new breed of fighters again and getting them a bit of exposure again, which is, I guess, why we set out to do this in the first place, I guess.
Are you on repeat?
Nicely, doesn't it? What are you laughing at?
You've literally just reeled off basically the same 4 sentences you just said.
Well, that's it. I'm just thinking out loud. At the same time, I'm doing this and I'm thinking out loud of what we're going to do for the next few weeks.
I thought I'd gone back in time 5 seconds.
I'm like...
A few people have messaged like sort of asking for clarification that they are free tickets, and initially I think, speaking to Steve last year, the plan was free last year and then maybe even like a £5 on like per head just to cover costs of food and stuff, but Portland Consultants have like stepped up again basically and sponsored the event, and they're covering the costs. So like for the free ticket, again, all you need to do is contact us via our email, info@britishboxingblog.com. We'll reply if you send through some like a contact number and address, how many tickets you want, and we're creating a sort of database of that at the moment. To be honest, like, they are flying out. I'm absolutely buzzing how many emails I've had to deal with and get back to people. So like, do like contact us, and obviously there's no limit necessarily on like how many you want. So if you want a table of 10, that's absolutely fine. If it's just you, like even if it's you on your own, come along. Like there's be so many like-minded people there with you. And
I ain't sit with my man there.
Exactly. Our parents and other halves will be there, so they can sit there. And again, like I'm assuming similar to last year, there was like raffle, auction, all the sort of normal like talking type behaviour as well, and like the food as well. I think it was pie and peas and that last year, wasn't it? Although the change of venue might mean a bit of a change in the menu as well, but that remains to be seen. Well, Friday the 12th of October, for anyone who wasn't sure, and then we said from 7 p.m. till late. Obviously, any boxers on the card the next day might not be till late. They might be leaving quite early.
Right. Well, you've got Antler Bar in Newcastle. It's right in the centre of town on the roundabout where Metro Radio is, Pilgrim Street. I don't know what the roundabout's called, but it's there. You know what I mean? It's opposite, where 55 degrees north flats are basically the bar there. It's a lovely new bar as well. I watched one of the World Cup games in there, so it should be a cracking night. And as I've said, I'm probably going to repeat myself again here, but the closer it gets and the closer the Matchroom show gets on October 13th, I guess the busier we'll get as well, and we'll work up to that and preview that as much as we can. Yeah,
we'll probably this week, I think, hopefully get the first of the categories out, so we'll explain how to vote for your favourite. For I don't know, we haven't even officially sort of decided which one we're going to start with, but
we'll have a chat in private and come up with something clever.
I wouldn't promise that, like.
I know that, but no, I think that's again, we look forward to that, but we'll do a few more podcasts and put it all out on social media beforehand and keep you updated with everything with regards to that as well.
I think
good place to wrap up.
Yeah, I think well over an hour.
Correct.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we'll touch on. Again, we'll cover the sort of individual upcoming shows a bit more
next week, and let's keep trying to do it. And
in a bit more detail.
For that. But I've enjoyed it. It's good to be back, and I think once we start talking, we don't shut up. So it's nice that we've still got stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I think we've had a bit of a backlog as well, a few things to get off the chest and clear up. But no, it's done. I enjoyed it again. I think just looking there.
Next weekend, and I'll speak to you. We'll do one next week, and thanks everyone again for your questions. Much appreciated.
Yeah, brilliant. Again, we'll hopefully get them up and running a bit more regularly, just in time for the boxing to have finished. But the next, as you say, September's a big month in terms of boxing, so I think there's going to be plenty for us to get our teeth into and
plenty more to come. Excellent.
chat shit about. No worries.
Alright, take care, lad.
See you later.